Today we'll be continuing a resort spotlight series with Disney's BoardWalk Inn. Hello and welcome to the Let's Go to the Parks podcast. I'm Oliver.
And I'm Lucy.
Today is Thursday, July 30th, and you're listening to episode 151, Resort Spotlight, Disney's BoardWalk Inn. Before we get into today's main topic, here's what's going on in the parks right now. There's not much on the news front this week, and that's because we're recording much earlier in the week than we normally do. But one thing is that Disney shared a teaser of a new annual pass holder magnet that's coming soon. It seems that it's either going to be Muppets themed or maybe even Princess and the Frog, but they did do a Princess and the Frog one like semi-recently. So I'm thinking probably more Muppets.
Yeah,
but
probably.
We should get a reveal pretty soon. And I do hope that lines up with my September trip.
Yes.
So fingers crossed on that. And on that note, I had a bit of a situation today. So it was just something came up and I had to move my trip with Alex by 1 week. So essentially, I'll still be doing September 10th to 13th with the boys. But instead of Universal before with Alex, we're actually going to be doing it after. So she's going to meet me at Stella Nova on the 13th rather than the 6th. And then we're going to be there till the 17th and doing Halloween Horror Nights on September 16th.
Yeah, that's right. And we're actually recording earlier in the week because the kids and I are leaving for the Yukon on Saturday morning. And we normally record on Sundays. So we just had to do it a few days earlier. So any news items we missed, we'll just have to catch up on that next week.
Yeah, exactly. There's for sure going to be something between now and then because that's a week and a half away. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll catch up next week. With that said, let's get into today's main topic, which will be a resort spotlight of Disney's BoardWalk Inn. So this is the last of the BoardWalk area resorts, right? Because we did Yacht and Beach Club semi-recently, at least the Disney proper ones. So BoardWalk Inn actually sits across Crescent Lake from Yacht and Beach Club, and there are other resorts nearby, namely the Swan and Dolphin and then the Swan Reserve. But these are Marriott hotels that aren't owned and operated by Disney. So to be clear, it sits on the far side of Crescent Lake, furthest away from the EPCOT International Gateway entrance, right? But that's very relative because it's a small lake, right? It sits right across from Yacht and Beach Club on the other side. And it's like, I would say, if it's like 2-3 minutes to walk from Beach Club, it's probably like 10 minutes or so to walk from BoardWalk Inn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The resort first opened its doors back in July of 1996, and it did open both with standard guest rooms and the DVC studios and villas. And then, of course, that means it's classified as a deluxe resort. And in Disney speak, that comes with, all of the associated amenities, including those extended evening hours, which are nice, especially when you're that close to EPCOT.
Absolutely. Its most recent room refurbishments were back in 2022, so fairly recent, all things considered, and it's currently undergoing some other refurbishments as well. Disney has said that now through to late 2026, refurbishment work will take place in select areas of Disney's BoardWalk Inn, which from what we can tell, it seems like it's going to be the storefronts around the boardwalk. But also from January 11th, 2027 through to April of 2027, the Luna Park Pool, the Luna Park Crazy Play Area, and Leaping Horse Libations will be closed for routine maintenance. As always, guests may see or hear work taking place during daytime hours, but most resort amenities, including dining, recreation, and merchandise locations, will remain open. The Villas pool and the Inn pool will also remain open to guests during the renovations as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. In terms of theming, the resort has turn-of-the-century Atlantic City waterfront theming, and we'd say that they did nail it here for sure. So the back of the resort has kind of like red, pale yellow, and blue accents with lots of white trim. The ground floor is all like storefronts that line the boardwalk, right, which is just like spot on. It's very pretty.
It's very pretty.
The resort itself literally sits on the boardwalk with the water just like beside it, essentially. And it's just such a pretty area, especially at night when it's all lit up. Like, at night, it's even more pretty if that's possible.
I agree.
The front of the resort, which is where you'll come to, obviously, when you first check in, if you're arriving in your own car, your rideshare, Mirrors Connect, or whatever you're taking. The porte cochere has cream-colored siding with a rounded opening at the front that has like boardwalk kind of in a semicircle and like large golden lettering. It's very nice. And there's 2 towers kind of on either side of it. And then the surrounding buildings is where you can see like the guest balconies, right? And it's mostly the same colors as the back of the resort, which one side is like those light cream colors, reds and pale yellows. And then it's like, green and light blue on the other side with white trim everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. And then when you first walk in the front doors, there's a miniature carousel on display in the middle of the lobby. And then directly ahead, there's a massive chandelier with 4 golden horses, baby angels, and a large ornate mirror mounted on the wall. The floors are a natural wood color. The walls are a very, very light green color with lots of white trim and accents. And then if you turn left, you're going to actually see the check-in desks, concierge, and the bell service on the left-hand wall. In the middle of the space, there's actually some seating, and then there's lots of windows in here. It's super bright and airy. And then there's heavy golden frame artwork on the outside walls. The area rugs, couches, and chairs in the seating area have light green, red, and similar pastel colors. And then out of the back windows, there's actually a small courtyard area that opens to the boardwalk. There's also an exterior pass-through out there with stairs that lead to the front of the resort.
Yeah, that's right. So you don't actually have to go through the lobby to get from the back to the front. You essentially just go up or down these stairs. You go up to go to the front, or down, obviously, to come down to the boardwalk.
Yeah.
And yeah, you don't ever have to go inside if you don't want to. And when you're facing the front of the resort, the left side, like we were saying, these are the red and yellow buildings. That's the DVC side. Whereas the right side, which are cream and green in color, that's the inside. From the main lobby, if you walk down the hall that leads to the inside, you're actually going to come to the Bellevue Lounge. There are stairs here right next to it that lead down to the boardwalk as well. And then when you walk outside from there, you're in the garden area. So these buildings are all connected and kind of form a loose C, I would say, like the letter C. And there's a leisure pool in the middle of this space as well. And then on the far side of these, furthest away from the boardwalk, kind of like back towards the front of the resort, you have a conference center.
Yes, that's right. And then back from the main lobby area, if you go left, that's actually the DVC side. So just off the lobby on this side is Carousel Coffee, which is a grab-and-go coffee location. And then if you keep going down this way, you're going to come to an elevator bank that's going to take you down. And down here is where you're going to find the fitness center named Muscles and Bustles. And then just beyond that is the arcade, and then a walkway that leads you to the back of the resort's courtyard area, and the boardwalk just past that. On the left is the main pool area for the resort, named the Luna Park Pool, and there's also a pool bar here as well. The buildings out here kind of form a loose 3 shape. So the second semicircle of buildings also has a pool, which is a leisure pool. And then there's also the community hall, which is located there as well.
Yeah, exactly. Now, this is something that I would say that's unique to the Boardwalk Inn, but most resorts have their table and or quick service locations inside the resort, whereas here at Boardwalk, the vast majority of them are physically on the boardwalk itself. So you do actually have to like come out and around to the boardwalk to get to these. They're not like part of the main resort lobby, if that makes sense.
Which is just part of its charm of being on the
on
the boardwalk.
Exactly, right? It's not a deal breaker at all, right? It's just something to be mindful of. When you come out of the back of the resort to that courtyard area and you essentially first come onto the boardwalk itself, on your right, on the water side, you have Blue Ribbon Corn Dogs. It's a relatively new snack stand, obviously specializing in corn dogs.
Yeah.
On the resort side, you have a bunch of options, including Flying Fish, which is a table service restaurant, Abracadabar, it's always hard to say, Abracadabar, which is a lounge, and then Trattoria Al Forno, which is a table service restaurant, an Italian restaurant. Next to that, there's a pizza window, and then on the water side is Boardwalk Joe's, which is another snack stand as well. They serve margaritas there.
And then back on the resort side, next to that pizza window is the Boardwalk Deli. Beside that, you have the Boardwalk Ice Cream Parlor. And then at the very end of this side, closest to Epcot, you have Cake Bake Shop by Gwendolyn Rogers. Really great spot.
Yeah.
If you continue along that pathway and then across the bridge, that's going to lead you to the International Gateway entrance. And then back to the courtyard area. If you go left from there, you have a boat dock. The Surrey bike rental area is there as well. And then on the resort side, you have the main merchandise store named Screen Door General Store. Here, they're going to sell some basic grocery items. And then they also have a bakery case and, of course, resort-specific merchandise, apparel, accessories, houseware, among several other items.
Yeah, that's right.
Across from that, on the water side, you have Boardwalk Games, which opens during the evening hours. And then further down from that, you have the former Jelly Roll space and the Atlantic Dance Hall.
Yeah, that's right. The Atlantic Dance Hall is essentially like I wouldn't call it like a nightclub, but essentially it's a dance hall, right? It's in the name.
Music and dancing.
Yeah, and Jelly Rolls, as many of you know, right? That closed several months ago. And yeah, it's just what it is. And with that, let's get into room categories. So there's quite a few at this resort as well, but Disney does break these down in categories, which are the standard guest rooms, the club level rooms, the deluxe studios, and the villas. For standard rooms, you have resort view rooms. These have views of either the Boardwalk Inn Gardens, the leisure pool, or parking area. They sleep up to 5 adults and feature 1 king bed and 1 day bed, or 2 queen beds, or 1 king bed, or 2 queen beds and 1 day bed. Okay, so you have a few different configurations there. The water view rooms have views of Disney's Boardwalk or Crescent Lake, and they also sleep 5, and they feature 1 king bed or 2 queen beds, or 2 queen beds and 1 day bed. So a few less options there. Both of these room types include a beverage cooler, a coffee and tea station, and a patio or balcony, obviously depending which floor you're on.
Yeah, and the standard rooms here are beautiful in our opinion. They feature laminate faux wood flooring. The walls have a light yellow paint color on them. And then when you walk in, there's actually a beautiful large wardrobe in a natural wood color with large mirrors on the front of it and what looks like lights all around the mirror. So they're very, very nice. It's a nice feature of those rooms. The bathrooms are nice and sleek as well, and they feature a double vanity, and the toilet and shower are separated by a pocket door. We absolutely love this layout every single time. Next to the wardrobe is the coffee station, which has some shelving, and then the back of it features fun Disney artwork. There's an icebox on here, a Keurig machine, and a beverage cooler. The headboards are plaid, but there's some subtle Disney portraits on the wall and a TV stand that doubles as a dresser. And if you have a day bedroom, the couch is next to the TV stand. And then there's actually the balcony or patio, which also has 2 chairs and a table. So there's lots of space.
Yeah, for sure.
Those.
Yeah, they're decent size. Yep.
Yeah, these started at around $800 a night, and the Waterview rooms are just a touch more.
Yeah, exactly. And then for the deluxe studios, they have resort views, which are views of the resort grounds or parking area, the garden or pool view rooms, which is self-explanatory, and the boardwalk view rooms, which obviously is the most coveted. They sleep up to 5 and feature 1 queen bed, 1 queen size Murphy bed, and 1 single pull down bed, right? Which is the configuration, I would say, in most of the other newly refurbished studios across property.
We've stayed in that one before,
Yeah, exactly. They include a kitchenette with a small fridge and microwave and a balcony. The flooring is the same as the standard rooms, right? When you walk in, you have the kitchenette, which has a microwave, toaster, sink, coffee maker, and mini fridge. The vanity is separated from the toilet and shower, which is nice. And then, of course, you have the queen bed. The headboard is the same as the standard room, so that kind of plaid layout. And then you have a Murphy bed, which pulls down, and that single pull down from the TV stand as well. And then, of course, like all other rooms here, you have a balcony or patio, depending which floor you're on. These start right around the $800 mark as well, with the boardwalk view rooms reaching over $1,000 a night.
The 1-bedroom villas also have resort, garden, or pool view rooms, and the boardwalk views are also an option as well. They sleep up to 4 and all feature 1 king bed and 1 queen-size pull-down bed. They also include 1 full bathroom with 2 sink areas, a full kitchen, living and dining room area, a full washer and dryer, and a balcony. The 2-bedroom villas sleep up to 9 people, so these feature 1 king-size bed, 1 queen-size bed, 2 queen-size sleeper or pull-down beds, and then 1 single sleeper or pull-down bed. These have 2 bathrooms, a full kitchen, living and dining areas, washer and dryer, and a balcony. And then you have the 3-bedroom grand villas and the 1 or 2 story 3-bedroom grand villas as separate categories. These feature 1 king bed, 4 queen beds, and 1 queen-size sleeper sofa, and these sleep up to 12 people. They also have 3 bathrooms and all the other options included in the 2-bedroom villas. The 1-bedrooms start at around $1,200 a night, and it only goes way, way up from there.
Way up for sure, yeah. And then for club level rooms, you have the standard resort view rooms, which are essentially the same, but they include club level access, which is named the Innkeepers Club at this resort. You also have the deluxe rooms, which are larger than the resort view rooms. They have 2 queen beds and 1 queen size sleeper sofa. They sleep up to 6. They also include a beverage cooler, coffee and tea station, and patio or balcony. And then, of course, those personalized guest services, which is what you get with club level. The garden rooms sleep 2, and they feature 1 king bed. That's it. And then the 2-bedroom suites have 1 king bed, 2 queen beds, and 1 queen-size sleeper sofa. They sleep up to 8 and include a small fridge, but not a full kitchen like you're going to find in the villas. And all of these rooms are well over $1,000 a night. So lots of options when it comes to room categories here for sure. And like we said, we really like the standard rooms and the studios at this resort because they're very similar. They're nice and functional, right, with that split bathroom design, and you really can't beat the location.
Absolutely. And then with that, let's get into dining. So we touched on the available options earlier, but there's actually quite a few options at the boardwalk for sure, just in general. So first up is Flying Fish, which is the first restaurant on your right when you're in the back courtyard area. This is actually a beautiful restaurant. The inside has dark blue walls, natural wood-colored flooring, stunning chandeliers that look like bubbles. They really add something special to that dining room for sure, those chandeliers.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
The chairs and booths are also navy with white tablecloths, which always gives just that nice touch of class that you might be looking for.
Yep.
It also has an open kitchen in there, which is actually really nice. You don't see that at a ton of restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
It is a signature restaurant specializing in seafood, but they do have non-seafood items on their menu as well. So for appetizers, they have lobster bisque, fennel and saffron mussels, a slow roasted pork belly BLT, shrimp cocktail, roasted beet and Florida berries, artisan cheeses, grilled heirloom tomatoes, and stone fruit, and seasonal gazpacho.
That's right. So then for entrees, they have a salmon, a sea bass, filet mignon, New York strip steak, potato wrapped red snapper, a pan-seared organic chicken, plancha seared scallops, among a few other options. And then for dessert, they have a tropical upside down cake, which sounds amazing, chocolate caviar custard, or lemonade mousse. And next to flying fish is Abracadabar. So this is a lounge, and inside the floor, it kind of reminds me of the design of Spaceship Earth, like that geodesic shape kind of thing, if that makes sense. And then there's red and gold tapestry on the walls. That's kind of reminiscent of Haunted Mansion, but not in a creepy way. It's like a little bit more elegant, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah, for sure.
The bar, table, and wood are all very dark. And the theming in here is essentially like a watering hole for magician and illusionist, right? Which is pretty cool. It has a small menu featuring crispy Korean-style wings, lump crab fries, and artisan cheeses. It has a good selection of specialty themed cocktails for sure. And then it's a full bar, so you can get pretty much anything you want.
And then next door to this, you have Trattoria Al Forno, which is a table service restaurant featuring a casual Italian dining experience. The inside of the restaurant has rich colors like dark red, natural colored wood, and brick wall accents. It also has an open kitchen at this one as well, and it feels warm and inviting in here. Definitely a good atmosphere. It serves breakfast and dinner. The breakfast menu features oak grilled steak and eggs, the sunrise breakfast pizza, buttermilk pancakes, a caprese omelet, Al Forno eggs, avocado toast, Florentine frittata, and freshly harvested fruit with honey yogurt, among a few other options. And then for dinner, the appetizer menu features a charcuterie board, a caprese salad, a Caesar salad, tomato bruschetta, calamari, and minestrone soup. For entrees, they have oak grilled strip steak, the truffle mascarpone enriched risotto with seasonal vegetables, the red wine braised short rib, fish of the day, which rotates, shrimp pappardelle, lasagna al forno, chicken parmesan, plant-based bolognese, truffle gnocchi, polpetta giant rigatoni, as well as several pizza options. For dessert, they have the house-made gelato, lemon ricotta cake, milk chocolate panna cotta, and tiramisu.
Of course they have tiramisu.
Of course.
Yeah, for sure. I've never
and
had
panna cotta.
For sure. I would assume that it's good, but I've never had it there.
I haven't either.
And next door to that, you actually have the pizza window, which offers a super slice of pepperoni or cheese pizza, a side salad, a cannoli, or mini cannolis. You can also order full pizzas here and take them back to your room if you want to. And there's no indoor seating, okay, but there are several outdoor tables on either side of the boardwalk, but they just don't have like an inside store, if that makes sense. And next to that is the BoardWalk Deli, which specializes in sandwiches and bakery items. So for breakfast, they do a deli-style breakfast bowl, the smoked salmon bagel sandwich, the standard bagel breakfast sandwich, and you can get either of these with an everything bagel as well if you want. They also have a plant-based ciabatta breakfast sandwich. And then, of course, they have a ton of bakery items. So think like cupcakes, muffins, danishes, croissants, scones, cakes, pies, basically anything you want, right? And then they also do specialty coffees as well. And then for lunch and dinner, they have a warm corned beef Reuben, a meatball sub, an Italian sub, the chicken bacon avocado ranch wrap, which sounds really good, a ham and cheese croissant, a roasted turkey sandwich. That was probably what I would get.
Yeah.
And then the gourmet grilled cheese, a turkey Cobb salad if you're craving a salad, or a Caesar salad with grilled chicken. That's also a good option. And then the plant-based veggie crunch muffaletta.
And then next to that, you have the BoardWalk Ice Cream Parlor. They do have ice cream cones or cups in variety of flavors, and they also have sundaes and milkshakes here as well. It's also hard scooped ice cream here, which is very nice. We kind of prefer that.
I prefer that over soft serve for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think our kids do too. So that's a good option for us.
Usually better
sure.
ice cream, usually.
Agreed.
Yep.
And then last but not least, down here, you have the Cake Bake Shop by Gwendolyn Rogers. This is both a bakery where you can order those decadent and super expensive cake slices. And then they actually also have cookies, pies, macarons, coffee, croissants, and much more bakery items. But if you do prefer a sit-down experience, there's the attached table service restaurant. They do have breakfast here with an extensive menu featuring classic dishes like eggs benedict, quiche, croque monsieur, and croque madame, an assortment of waffles, French toast, and pancakes. And then, of course, you can order any of the bakery items as well. And then for lunch and dinner appetizers, they have truffle pommes frites, gumbo poutine, pesto burrata, the avocado stack, crab cakes with remoulade, and charcuterie board. They also have several salads. And then for entrees, they have the angel hair pomodoro, chicken piccata, chicken tenders, croque monsieur, croque madame, the grilled salmon sandwich, the New Orleans shrimp po' boy, and the roasted salmon fillet, crab cakes, and a classic or vegetarian burger and steak frites au poivre.
Yeah, for sure. I had the New Orleans po' boy, the shrimp one,
That would be good.
in last January. And yeah, it was really, really good. I want to try a cake slice so bad, but I need somebody to share it with,
Yeah,
right?
it's a lot otherwise.
They're very decadent and big. So I think that in October, we just head across the water and we go get
Why
one.
wouldn't we? We're
Yeah,
right there.
exactly. We can split it between the four of us and then it's not so bad.
Absolutely.
And then on the water side of the boardwalk, you have the blue ribbon corn dogs, which we alluded to earlier, right? So this has a small menu serving up corn dogs, of course. So they have the classic dog, the golden dragon, the Mexican street dog, the giant mozzarella, the pickle dog, and the kids dog. And then for something sweet, they also have the deep fried Hawaiian rolls, which are Hawaiian rolls fried and covered in cinnamon sugar and sweet condensed milk. And apparently, these are amazing.
Interesting.
So we might have to try those
Yeah.
too. And then right beside that, you also have Boardwalk Joe's Marvelous Margaritas. So they do a Mickey-shaped pretzel, a jalapeno stuffed pretzel, and then nachos with cheese sauce. And then, of course, they have a decent selection of margaritas as well if you're, craving a marg.
Yep.
And then back inside the actual resort itself, like we said earlier, not far from the lobby is the Bellevue Lounge. This is on the inside of the lobby. They have a wide selection of alcoholic or non-alcoholic cocktails. And then, of course, beers, wine, liquors, full bar again. So you can pretty much order anything you'd like.
Yeah, that's right. And then the Carousel Coffee, which is on the Villa side, is just literally grab and go of pastries and coffee. Over at Leaping Horse Libations, which is the pool bar by the Luna Park pool, they have oven roasted turkey sandwich, an Italian sub, the chicken bacon avocado ranch wrap, a Caesar salad with grilled chicken, the turkey Cobb salad, and the veggie crunch muffaletta. They also have a selection of cocktails, beers, and wine here as well. So that's definitely a lot. So there's no shortage of options around the boardwalk. You have the elevated options like flying fish, Italian food, and pizza. And then you also have bakeries, delis, ice cream, pretty much anything you could want.
Yeah,
really.
For sure. Yep.
And then failing all of that, there's the Yacht and Beach Club across the water. Also, that has several decent options as well, like Beaches and Cream, Cape May Cafe, Ale and Compass, and Yachtman's Steakhouse.
Yeah, exactly. There's no shortage of food. And then, of course,
Epcot.
Exactly, you can just go into Epcot. And then, if it's festival season, you see where we're going with it. Lots and lots of food in the area. And with that, let's get into pools and recreation. So we mentioned it a couple of times already, but the flagship pool here is the Luna Park pool. This is a carnival-themed pool inspired by 1920s amusement parks. It features a 200-foot long water slide that kind of looks like a roller coaster. And then the pool itself is over 184,000 gallons. So it's a decent size for sure. There's also a kiddie pool next to it for the smaller kids and a whirlpool spa as well. There's a leisure pool on the Villa side next to Community Hall, and then there's another one over on the inside as well. So 2 leisure pools and then that main, essentially, flagship pool.
Yeah.
For other recreation options, there's Movies Under the Stars, right? Like every other Disney resort. So that's every night at 8:30. Currently, that's over on the Village Green lawn. Mondays, it's Moana. Tuesdays, The Lion King. Wednesdays, Toy Story 2. Thursdays is Mulan. Fridays is Monsters, Inc. Saturdays is Finding Nemo. And then Sundays is Beauty and the Beast. They also have nightly campfires over here from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Marshmallows are free and then s'mores kit for a fee. Note that these are always subject to change. This is listed on the recreation tab on the resort.
For the week?
No, it's like on the recreation tab for the resort page on the Walt Disney World website.
Yes.
You can also find it on the My Disney Experience app. But they also always have it like listed on a board or poster board, essentially right in the lobby. So if you're ever just cruising by the front lobby and you're curious what's going on, or if the times have changed, since you've listened to this, just go check there and it'll have updated times.
Absolutely. And then still on the Village Green lawn, they have nighttime trivia nightly at 8 p.m., as well as arts and crafts on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 4 to 5 p.m. Over at the Luna Park pool deck, they have poolside activities daily at 1:30 p.m. and Mickey Tie-Dye on Sundays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Community Hall is open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. daily, and you can play video games, table games like pool, check out sporting equipment, among other fun activities. And then the Sideshow Arcade is open daily from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. daily. For other activities, you have a croquet area, and you can rent Surrey bikes at the back of the resort on the boardwalk. And then there's also that great running walking trail, especially if you go around Crescent Lake. It's about 0.8 miles or just over 1 kilometer. There are tennis and pickleball courts as well. And there's actually a pickleball clinic Fridays from 9 to 10 a.m. There's also Disney Fit Yoga on Mondays at 9 a.m. and the Family Wellness Yoga on Wednesdays, also at 9 a.m.
Yeah, that's right. So always something going on, right, at your Disney resort. Just like I said, make sure to check that poster board or the website when you first get in to see what's going on. And then in terms of location and transportation, it's ideally located over at the BoardWalk, right? We've said it before, but it's just such a great area of Walt Disney World property, right? My personal favorite. It's just gorgeous. The BoardWalk sits across the water from Yacht and Beach Club, like we've said, right? It's walking distance to EPCOT. That's by far the best way to get to EPCOT.
Yeah.
And then depending where your room is located, we're talking, I would say, no more than 10 minutes. And then if you're on those inside rooms that are closest to EPCOT, maybe 5 minutes on the high end. So yeah, very, very close to EPCOT. To get to Hollywood Studios, you could also walk. There's a walking path that will take you right to the park, although it's a touch further. And I would say it's about 20 or 30 minutes, depending on how quickly you walk. And then failing that, you can also take a boat or bus to either park as well. Or if you really want for Hollywood Studios, you can actually take the Skyliner, which is right next to the International Gateway entrance, but you kind of have to go all the way around to Caribbean Beach and then back.
Yes.
So I would say that would be probably your longest option, but it is there if you want it.
That's right. And then for Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, and Disney Springs, it's the buses. It's a very compact resort, so there's only the one bus stop, and it's right in the front of the resort, easily accessible from pretty much anywhere on the resort. And then with that, let's get into some pros and cons of this resort. The two biggest pros for us is definitely that this resort is super well connected and compact. So no internal bus loop, which is great. We love that. And quick and easy access to EPCOT and Hollywood Studios, which is also great. And one of the few resorts on property that is easily walkable to two parks. Outside of that, it has a phenomenal atmosphere, especially in the evening hours. Like Oliver said, we absolutely love the BoardWalk. Plus, you have a ton of really great options right at the BoardWalk and then across the water at Yacht and Beach.
Yeah, for sure. Tons and tons of food options. And then for cons, the biggest one is going to be price. Okay, so it's not cheap to stay here. And really, none of these Disney resorts specifically in this area are, right? So everything on the BoardWalk, Yacht and Beach Club and BoardWalk, it's a prime location on property. And prices reflect that for sure. But this does mean, unfortunately, that it can be out of reach for some families because, rooms start around $600, $700, $800 a night, if not more.
Yep.
And that's expensive, right? And if we're really stretching it here for cons, the resort is not overly Disney themed, which some kids might not be big fans of, right? But that's really pushing for cons because there are subtle Disney touches here. And we really do love this resort.
Absolutely.
So with that, our final thoughts and recommendations. So this resort is definitely good for EPCOT fans, especially during the festivals, right? Because you can easily pop in and out of the International Gateway.
Yeah.
They're great for couples, right? Or adults only trips and for families. And then, having quick access to come back midday for a break or a nap, right? Or even a swim is just, convenient for lots of families with little kids. And you can just generally pop in and out of EPCOT and Hollywood Studios super, super easy.
Yeah, exactly. So we can definitely recommend this resort. We absolutely love it. It's perfectly located right on the BoardWalk, good for the families and couples. If it's in your budget, you should definitely consider a stay here or maybe renting DVC points just to make it a touch more affordable.
Yeah, agreed. Yep.
And that wraps up the entire EPCOT Disney Resorts line.
Yep.
Of the resorts on Crescent Lake, BoardWalk is great, but it's probably our least favorite, with Beach Club being number one, not least of which is because of Stormalong Bay. Honestly, that just takes the cake.
Yep.
Yacht is not far behind because it also has access to Stormalong Bay, and then BoardWalk coming in at number 3. So don't get us wrong, it is still a phenomenal resort. It's just that Yacht and Beach are even better, which is really saying something.
Yes, exactly. BoardWalk is still super great, and it benefits from being in that area. And we are partial to Disney resorts, and we would never anymore stay at a non-Disney resort. We have stayed at Swan Reserve.
We have.
And we liked our stay there, but it's not Disney. But if you wanted to, stay in that area for potentially $200-$300 less per night, you can actually find some really great deals at Swan and Dolphin and Swan Reserve to have rooms around $300-$400, right? Which can make it a lot more palatable. And then you're still walkable to EPCOT and to Hollywood Studios. So that's definitely an option, right? We're not going to cover those resorts in this series, but they are good options as well if you're considering staying in that area, and that's super, super important to you, but the prices at, Yacht, Beach, and BoardWalk are out of reach.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I agree with that.
With that said, thank you for joining us today to talk Disney. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. And as always, if you could leave us a rating and review, it would be greatly appreciated. If you choose to do so, you can leave reviews right on Apple Podcasts. And for Spotify, you can leave a rating.
You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok at letsgo.totheparks, as well as on our Facebook page, Let's Go to the Parks. We share some helpful reels here as well as some fun ones. The link tree in the show notes will take you to all of our socials.
Have a great day, and we'll see you real soon.